What do Becky and Chris, Peter McKinnon, Yes Theory, and Lizzie Pierce all have in common? They keep you engaged throughout the entire video, but more importantly, they also are able to drive emotion. How? Let's talk about that. Have you ever watched a video on YouTube and thought to yourself, wow, this is an amazing video, but something is missing? What I've personally noticed when I watch some videos is that they're incredibly well edited and the footage looks amazing and it looks cinematic, but they're just not as captivating as they could be. There could be several reasons why this is, but usually what I found is that they're missing an emotional experience in their video. Creating a mood or that emotional experience in your video is crucial, and one great way to do this, and a way that I would recommend anyone to do this, is by using music, but not just any kind of music, because when you spend hours, if not days, editing a video and then you just slap on the first song that you can find, you're doing yourself a disservice. Without the right music, your video and your story is not going to resonate with your audience. And the creators that I mentioned before, they very carefully and intentionally pick every song and place them very carefully on their timeline to help drive their story.
Absolutely.
Now, when it comes to choosing the right songs for your video, I would really recommend to choose the songs before you start editing. A lot of people will tell you to choose the songs before you even start shooting, and this can be really helpful too. However, in my own personal workflow, what I've found is that it is a lot easier to find the songs before you start editing than when you start filming. Especially if you're making vlogs, for example, or even talking head videos, having those songs before you do anything, before you start filming, can be quite difficult because you do not really know what's going to be happening in your vlog. And the main reason is not just because the story comes alive in the edit, but because it is really difficult to make a song fit your edit. It is way better to let a song drive your edit and edit according to the song. So now the question is, how do we find the right music and where can we find it? Let's start with how. We've already talked about the mood and the emotional experience that we want to create for our viewer, and therefore it is so important to identify the mood and the vibe of your video. The way to do this is to look at the number of people, for example, the emotions, the location, the color palette, and maybe even the architecture of your videos. Let's take a very simple example and talk about emotions. If people in your video are laughing, it doesn't make any sense to use a sad violin tune, right? Or a piano tune. And if people are crying, it doesn't make any sense to have this happy, upbeat song. I think we can all agree to this, but the same goes for location and color palette, for example. Now, if, for example, your video is shot in nature and in a calm environment, it would make sense to use more of a mellow song. The same goes for neutral colors versus vibrant colors. All of these things that you see in your footage will give you a pretty good idea and a pretty good vibe. Like, just pay attention to what you're feeling when you're reviewing your footage, and then take all of those words that are coming up and those feelings that are coming up and find a song accordingly. Without music, your video might feel really empty, but also by using just generic music, your viewer might not be enticed to watch the entire video. The ultimate and my favorite way to connect with a viewer through music is by using music that they actually know. There's just nothing like hearing a song that you know, that you vibe with. This could be a nostalgic song or it could be a current hit. There's just this instant connection with this story that you're watching, and a much deeper connection, not even with the story, but maybe also with the creator that made this video. When you use a song that people actually know, it will be more enjoyable for them to watch the video, to keep watching, but also to keep engaging with the content. And this means that not only will music help you tell your story better, but it will also be seen by more and more people as more and more people can connect to the story. Now, as I'm pretty sure you're aware, as you're a creator, there is something called copyright laws, and due to copyright laws, we cannot just go ahead and use all of these mainstream songs that everyone knows in our videos. If we do that, we risk a copyright claim, or even worse, a copyright strikes, and with 3 strikes, you're out and your channel is terminated. So I definitely do not recommend anyone to do that or to go that route. However, there is actually a way that allows us to use copyrighted music without getting into trouble, completely legal, and that is Licked. Licked offers over 1 million mainstream songs that you can license for your videos on YouTube, but also on other social media platforms. And when I say mainstream, I mean songs like this one, you just want attention, and this one. Feel your eyes, they all over me. Don't be shy, take control of me. Licked's goal is to work with every single record label to make chart music available to every single creator. And this means that by using mainstream music from Licked, we do not get any copyright strikes and we do not lose out on our AdSense money. I personally have used Licked multiple times in my videos, and I cannot describe the freedom, how good that feels to have the freedom to use these songs without getting into trouble. I even found one of my ultimate favorite songs that I always rock out to, and now I can actually use it in my videos, which is just wild to me. In addition to this, you can get a subscription to their stock library. They have over 100,000 stock songs that you can use unlimitedly on all of the social media platforms. Keeping in mind what we talked about before when it comes to picking the right mood for your video, on Licked we can actually filter by mood or by genre. They also offer playlists that make the search for a song a lot quicker and a lot easier. So let's say that your audience may consist of an older demographic, then my suggestion is to look for some 80s music that they'll recognize and they love, and it brings back memories. That's what we want to do. If you want to try this out, sign up for Licked by using my link in the description for 14 days of free stock music and 50% off your first mainstream song. No matter whether you're using chart music or stock music, really try to observe the vibe of those shots, but also what you're feeling when you're watching these shots, and then try to find a song that fits those feelings. However, the song doesn't always literally have to fit the vibe of the video, which is what we've mostly been talking about so far. But you can also really use the song to create that vibe in your video. Granted, your personality or the way that you deliver the information or the information itself will have some sort of an underlying tone, but there are still ways to get creative with what music you're using. When it comes to talking head videos, for example, and I know this might sound a little bit silly, you want to consider your personality and your personal brand. If you're a very upbeat and energetic person and this is the way that you deliver information, then keep this in mind when you're picking a song for your talking head video. In terms of personal branding, the songs that you pick can and will be associated with your personal brand. What songs pop up when you think of Casey Neistat or Peter McKinnon? Now, these are all things that you want to keep in mind when you're choosing music for your videos. By just using music, your video can still fall kind of flat, and that is because we're missing a very important element. To really immerse your viewer in your video and create that emotional experience that we've been talking about, you're going to want to use this one technique that I'm talking about in this video right here.